Hello, I'm Jim. Welcome to my channel. I just want to talk a little bit more about the Lord of the Rings differences between the books and the movies. I'm going to break it down to a few different categories. I'm probably going to start with, I'll break it down like the Hobbits. We'll do Rohirrim. Uh, Saruman have his own. Um, we'll do the Men of Gondor probably together and just kind of go over differences that kind of bug me in the books and the movies. So we'll start today with the Hobbits and Gimli and Legolas. First of all, Legolas was not in The Hobbit. Um, you know, I didn't even watch all the movies because it was just too cartoonish for me. Uh, the Hobbit movies are just not, they're basically not even really worth time. So I just want to get that out there. I don't like the Legolas and then all the other extra add-ins that they had on the in the in the in the movie. It got too ridiculous for me. I couldn't even watch it, let alone I haven't even attempted to watch the Rings of Power. Anyway, because I'm just a purist, so I just wanted to get that. Legolas did not appear in The Hobbit. Um, Gimli and Legolas, their dynamic was pretty, pretty well portrayed in the movie. But like I said in the last one, um, they were became fast friends, and it was a really big deal historically in Middle Earth. No dwarves or men were ever dwarves and elves were never friends. Not even any other one-offs that they have in the whole history. So the the ridiculousness of Legolas in the movie really bugged me. Um, and but Gimli was pretty straightforward. He had a little bit of comic relief. I don't know. I don't remember in the book necessarily that he was any sort of comic. He's just sturdy and dependable. And with Aragorn, pretty much, stuck with him for the most part, and was, you know, tried to, almost kind of try to be a father figure to him and give him advice and stuff, similar to the movie. But really, Aragorn was, he was a lot more based than he was in the book, or than in the movie. Yeah, he's more. I've read some other things, other information. Some people agree with kind of the Lord of the Rings is just a little bit secretly woke, and I can kind of see that. So I'll kind of go over that. So in the Hobbits, you have Merry, Sam, Frodo, and Pippin. And one of the things that kind of gloss over that I think could have made the movies a little better is making Merry more along the lines of his character in the book. He was uh, he was dependable. He was he had foresight. He was observant. In fact, he knew about the ring before Frodo ever spilled the beans about the ring. He knew a lot about it. He knew that it made him invisible or made Bilbo invisible because he observed it himself, and he kind of, had been spying on Bilbo for a long time about that. And he's also very prepared. So when they ran from uh, the Black Riders or escaped the Black Riders at the ferry, um, of course, it wasn't as dramatic in the book because they were basically just riding in a wagon with to Buckleberry Ferry, and then after they crossed, they saw the Black Rider on the shore. Um, so they get from Buckleberry Ferry to Crick Hollow, which is at the edge of the old forest, which is one of the parts they cut out with the Tom Bombadil, But at Crick Hollow, Merry was prepared to take off the very next morning. He had everything planned. He had ponies. He had everything packed. And Frodo hadn't even yet told them what his plans were about leaving as soon as possible. So Merry was with it. He was um, more mature, even though he's probably about the same age as Pippin. Um, and he just was more responsible. He spent his time in Rivendell reading the maps, which was fortuitous. When they got to Fanghorn Forest, he knew where they were pretty much in relation to Rohan and Isengard. He kind of knew where, as Pippin had no clue. Um, the book Pippin and the movie Pippin probably pretty comparable. Pippin was a little more playful, more immature, but he did have some good qualities that did come out. But I didn't wasn't really too uh, you know bothered by his character in the movie. But Mary could have been a little better. But he wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't bad for his character. Sam, I think uh, I think Sean Astin did a good job portraying Sam. His the way um, he was, the loyalty to Frodo. Um, Frodo was, I think, an excellent cast. Um, um, he did a good job, um, and I just thought he was pretty good, pretty true to the book. But of course, the parts that bug me are like when Frodo sends Sam away in the movie, and it's like that didn't happen. That didn't happen. It just that kind of made no sense to me, and really, it didn't help in the book at all or in the movie at all to do that. I don't understand why they did that. Why can't they stick to the book? It's like that's one of the areas where you're wondering what people's their motivations are, their strengths, their weaknesses, and it's like the movies that you don't want to show strong heroic characters. I guess I don't know if that's what their aversion is to people who can be follow their convictions and be loyal, to death even. I don't know. Maybe they just don't have they have a problem with showing that. It's like the books show it great. Um, and that's one of the things I love about um, those books. So Sam's character, they didn't go into uh, that in the movie, but he was the only other person to have put the ring on, and he was even after he experienced the power of the ring. He had visions of grandeur, and thinking he'd make the world a garden and stuff, and but he still freely, with a little bit of help, freely gave it back to Frodo. And that was a big thing with his character. It was like that's hugely important. Um, he couldn't be corrupted. Was the basic premise of that. And his loyalty to Frodo was stronger than his lust for the ring. Um, and of course, the journey through Mordor and everything. Like I said on the other one, was foreshortened. Uh, it's kind of disappointed that they didn't have the scouring of the Shire. So if you haven't read the books yet, you'll be, this is going to be a spoiler, but read the books. They get back to the Shire and they got to clean it up. And it's one of some of my favorite parts. It's funny. Uh, Sam, Pippin, and Merry really, come to the forefront. Frodo kind of takes a back seat. He's kind of through with all that, but you really see it's what they were trained to do, as Gandalf said. They were trained to take care of business themselves, and they really ended up doing that. And of course, they get back to the Shire, and have to deal with uh, Sharky. I won't spoil everything, but they have to deal with Sharky and his companion, and of course the Sackville Bagginses, which really kind of another unfortunate. They could have got maybe not a little bit. I guess it's unfortunate you couldn't see it. So just read the books, and you'll be able to enjoy the dynamic with the Sackville Bagginses and other hobbits. They kind of miss out on in the movies. Um, I mean, I guess that's all I got for this part. We'll kind of delve into like the Rohirrim separately. Of course, that's Theoden, Eowyn, um, uh, Eomer a little bit, and Wormtongue. I think those would be kind of they maybe need to be explained a little different than they were in the books, especially Eowyn and Wormtongue. A little bit of Theoden, yeah, kind of. Some of the things really kind of bugged me about Theoden and his portrayal in the movie. And again, that goes to the wokeness kind of idea that I read about just recently. So we'll kind of explore that next time. Have a good night.